Psychopathic ideas make sane men do crazy things. That's the price of having a philosophy that makes no sense. I made a lot of conservatives angry during the Obama years by defending Barack Obama from the charge that he was evil. The people who said Obama was evil, to my mind, were spoiled Americans who never saw what evil looks like when it's in power. Here's a hint. There are an awful lot of dead bodies. Obama wasn't evil at all. But because his socialist and multicultural ideas made no sense and weren't in keeping with reality, he did crazy things with evil consequences, like strengthening the terrorist state of Iran and abridging our precious American freedoms through the abuse of regulatory agencies. Likewise, the Democrat Party. In seeking a non-existent sort of equality among human beings, Democrats are trying to declare a world that has no qualities at all. They want to pretend that all religions are equal, so they ignore the fact that some religions are actually more wise and moral than others. They want to pretend there's no such thing as the state of being a woman or a man, because that's unfair and unequal. Therefore, they have to believe that pregnancy can have no consequences and can be eradicated by a simple medical procedure with no moral meaning. They want to pretend that all outcomes would be equal in a perfect world, and therefore they have to pretend that anyone who believes in freedom, which will always result in unequal outcomes, must be a bigot. And therefore they've turned racism from a stupid and evil philosophy into a mythic monster hiding under every bed. The Democrats aren't evil, but their ideas are false and are leading them down evil, crazy paths, psychopaths. The thing is, it's all about deflecting from the madness, the psychopathy of their philosophy. You know, you want to see a wonderful thing? Here's a wonderful moment in which Michael Moore tells the truth. The filmmaker Michael Moore goes on and says, we've got to stop with this being moderate. We've got to be extremist all the way.
If you're moderate, stop being moderate. Take a position, all right? There's no middle ground anymore. There's no halfway point to should somebody be paid a living wage. Well, I'm a moderate, so I think they could be paid half of a living wage. You know, on the issue of choice, there's no halfway there. You're either for it or you're against it. You know, do you believe in equal rights for women? Do you believe that we should have an equal rights amendment? Yes or no? There's no middle ground. This is no time for moderation.
He's absolutely right. There is no middle ground between killing a baby and not killing a baby. You can't sort of kill the baby. You can't a little kill the baby. You kill the baby or you don't kill the baby. Their philosophy has taken them to this place. It has taken them back to paganism, where they're going to start sacrificing children. It is absolutely, he's absolutely right about this. And this is the thing that the left is scrambling to cover up, because this is what the biggest gun that Donald Trump has in his arsenal. You know, there was a piece by Andrew Sullivan in New York Magazine that was so wonderful, because Andrew Sullivan, I don't know if you remember, he's the writer, he's gay, and he kind of announced himself as a conservative, which was total nonsense. But he called himself a conservative, and he was the one who went crazy about whether Sarah Palin's child, Trig, was actually Sarah Palin's child. And I've always felt that the guy was a little bit loopy, and he had this kind of weird craziness that kind of swooped every now and again into something that sounded like common sense. So in New York Magazine, he has an article called The Nature of Sex, and he starts out talking about a radical feminist organization called the Women's Liberation Front that went on a panel to the conservative Heritage Foundation and argued that sex was fundamentally biological and not socially constructed, and they were given this is his words, given a rousing round of applause by the Trump supporters, religious right members, natural law theorists, and conservative intellectuals who comprised much of the crowd, because they were talking common sense. They were talking against something called the inequality of they were talking about the Equality Act. The Equality Act, which is a big thing that they're trying to get, where trans people will be treated as whoever they want to say they are. It's a federal non-discrimination bill that's been introduced multiple times in various ways, and it would add gender identity to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Here's the problem with this for gay people, and I'm going to use my own words, but this is basically what Andrew Sullivan says, is that if there is no such thing as gender, if gender is not a biological fact, then gay people cease to exist. What is a gay person? A gay man is a man who wants to sleep with another man. A gay woman, a lesbian, is a woman who wants to have sex, who's attracted to other women. If a guy can say that he's a woman and sleep with a woman, therefore be a lesbian, the meaning of lesbianism just disappears, because once you start talking nonsense, you get into a nonsensical world. I'm going to tell this old joke. This will probably get me in trouble, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Two gay guys standing outside Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, and a gorgeous, gorgeous woman walks out, and the two gay guys are riveted. They stand and they look at this beautiful, beautiful woman as she walks out, and she's classic New York, gorgeous model-like beauty. She gets into a cab, she swoops in the cab and disappears, and one gay guy turns to the other and says, "Wow, don't you sometimes wish you were a lesbian?" And the reason that's a funny joke is because it shows you that gender and preference are real things. Sex and preference are real things. They're part of people's personalities, and you can't just erase them. And once you do that, once the left wants to do that, even their own people start to disappear, just like the babies, just like the lives, the real lives of the babies start to disappear. Once you start talking nonsense, you don't have to be an evil person. You don't have to be an evil person to start doing evil things. You only have to accept ideas that do not make sense. That's why we should distinguish between a guy, classically like Hitler, who sets out to do something evil, like exterminate a race of people, and a guy like Barack Obama, who is in no way evil, but whose ideas don't work. It doesn't work to treat all cultures as the same. It doesn't make moral sense to apologize for a free nation to slave states like Saudi Arabia. That doesn't make sense. The other day, one of the new Muslim congresswomen said, well, we should treat everybody in the Middle East the same. And I thought, no, because this little country Israel, this little sliver of a country Israel, is a free country, and these other countries are not. We should treat them very differently. The left has convinced themselves that in order for there to be equality, there must be no qualities. Nothing must have qualities that can be judged one from another. And so they've talked themselves into a nonsense that makes even their own condemnation of racism make no sense. They have really pushed their philosophy to the brink of evil. When they start talking about leaving babies to die, they're really at the brink of evil, and good people are following them over that cliff. I'm going to end. I know I want to bring on Michael Knowles to talk about the Super Bowl. But before I do, I just want to play this one clip from our friends at Live Action. They took some women, interviewed them about their views on abortion, and then showed them a picture of abortion. And I asked that the videos of abortions be cut out, and we just put the women's reactions before and after they actually saw the abortion.
What are your thoughts about abortion?
Abortion, I'd rather no one. I don't really like abortion. I'd rather it didn't exist. I'm not very for abortion. But there are times when you do need abortion, and it's up to that person and their rights and what they want to do.
I didn't know that you'd have to detach and crush and the process it goes through and all the risks that happens with this. So now that I do know, there's so many other options apart from abortion, and I know it sucks and like the consequences and how it happened and why you might want an abortion, but there's always another option, and you just got to suck it up because it's a life. I did think that rape was like an exception for an abortion, but now that you think of it, some people try so hard to conceive a baby and it's so hard and it doesn't happen. So you can always put your child up for adoption. There's always another option.
I think everyone should have a right to it. It's our body, it's our decision, right? So we want to go ahead with the pregnancy or to abort it. It should be solely on the person who's carrying the baby. So yeah, that's what I feel about it.
So would you both support abortion all the way up to the moment of birth?
Oh yeah, I do, yes. That was heart-wrenching, I guess. Until you see something like that, you don't often think that you're going to change your opinion, right? That's something I would never want anyone to go through, right? Not myself, not her, not anyone. I'm a mom to one, right? And I had no idea this is how abortion takes place, right? Looking at that video and the way it was performed, it's an eye-opener. So no, I don't think any kid, any baby, any infant, any fetus should go through that. No.
That's from our friends at Live Action. It's an amazing video, but all it is confronting people. As long as you're following the psychopathic logic and going down the psychopath, you will get to a place where you say, oh yeah, abortion till the moment of birth. But once you look at the reality, once they put the reality in front of you, once people are allowed to argue back, suddenly it disappears. And that's why the left is always silencing people. It's always like, well, you can't say that because you're not a woman. You can't say that because you're not black. You can't say that because it's not politically correct. You can't say it because it's racist. You can't say it because it's sexist. They have to do it because they're logic is psychopathic. And once you get to the reality of it, once you face the reality of it, it all falls apart.